South African Special Risk Insurance Association has made an about turn on a circular that it previously released. The state-owned insurer said it would no longer provide cover for damage to property caused during riots or in the event of an electricity grid collapse. They've now, since, of course, following the backlash from industry, halted that process and opted for a little bit more consultation. Sasria CEO Mpumelelo Tyikwe joining us now to give us more details on that. Good to have you.
Good day. Good evening, Putabo, and good evening to your listeners as well.
Are you being made to eat humble pie here? Did you jump the gun without consulting industry properly on this particular matter?
Look, remember, this has gone to the industry. And the South African industry, mostly insurers, are dealing with this issue already themselves. You'll have found that, in fact, in your personal insurance right now, they already exclude grid cover. So, subsequent to our reinsurance discussions that we're having, our reinsurance renewal is on the 1st of April. We have been given the same grid failure exclusion as all the other 65-plus insurance companies in South Africa. Right. And we had to reconsider our view as to how are we going to handle this unlikely event, basically, because a complete grid failure, let's take it, it's very unlikely.
The insurers of insurance companies are saying, we are not going to insure you for grid failure.
Exactly. And for us, they are our sources of capital. So as a regulated insurance company, we have to comply with certain solvency requirements. So the moment they said they can no longer provide us with that cover, it means our solvency drops. But also, you must also remember that in terms of design of all South African insurance products, we never anticipated that South Africa would find itself in this position in 2023. So this risk has been emerging over a period of time, and now some see it as very real that it could happen.
But I suppose, unlike other insurance products, yours is different because you were designed specifically to cover this. So if you're saying we will no longer cover, should there be a riot that is caused by a blackout or intelligence failure and so on and so forth, we will not cover you on your own. And then people will say, then why are you here?
Yeah. Look, there are various things that we cover, all right? Amongst them, our original design was to cover terrorism. That's the first thing. Then secondly, we brought in our cover to include other forms of protest. Students' protest, we cover that. If there's a labor unrest in South Africa that causes subsequent damage, we cover that. And you know, in July 2021, we covered an event that cost us an amount of 32 billion rands. Now, just contemplate a situation where South Africa is in complete darkness and what could potentially happen in that event. Yeah. So it's a sort of, as much as Sasria, we think that it's unlikely to happen, we have to plan for a possibility that it could happen. There are various alternatives we are exploring around this as to how we can handle it. We can source funding now such that, should it happen, we'll have the requisite funds for us to pay claims that could materialize. But as things stand today, the premiums that the South African public are paying to Sasria do not contemplate us providing grid cover. We do cover other forms of protest and so on. So this is something that we had to consider, just like all the other 65 insurance companies in South Africa as well. You know, another example, that I can give you is that if South Africa were to go into a war, Sasria doesn't cover that specific event. We don't cover if there is a nuclear explosion. So there are things we're not designed for, and a complete grid failure is definitely one of them.
Yeah, but when you look at 2021 unrest, and even there at some point we were having a conversation on whether or not it's going to clean your bank account, and Treasury had to come in and give us the assurance that, no, you guys are okay, you'll be fine, and you're able to cover everything that needs to be covered. Is that the kind of conversation that needs to be happening now?
We are already having that conversation. Treasury did step up during the July 2021. They injected into Sasria 22 billion rands. As I said, those claims cost us 32 billion rands. So if you were to ask me now, as a prudent insurance company, say, if there's a complete blackout in South Africa, or a complete grid failure, let me use that terminology, what is the likely amount? Yeah. The true answer is, I do not know. However, I can give you various scenarios.
Of what are the kind of things that you would need to cover should there be a complete grid failure?
Look, there are incidences where, for instance, you will see people could loot. Remember, what made July 2021 more severe was the fact that there was a lot of looting that happened 2 days into the event. If we had successfully managed to control the event within 2 or 3 days, I can tell you the loss wouldn't have been as big as it could have been. So right now, our biggest fear is a scenario of where there is looting, where there is damage to property. I mean, just a couple of months ago, people were protesting in Ekurhuleni around exactly the same issue. Municipality of Ekurhuleni withdrew certain subsidies for the indigent, for them to get electricity and water supply, and there was a protest. There was a fire to the municipal building. The cost to Sasria for that cover was 80 million. So this is just one section of South African community.
The Tembisa or the Kempton Park area?
It actually happened in the Tembisa municipal offices. They banned that. Yeah. So now, just imagine it happening in various spots within South Africa. But I don't want to sound alarmist. Really, the communication was intended for the industry and so on, and for us to start engaging how we can deal with it. As I said, we are dealing with a treasury. As things stand now in South Africa, they are very calm. South Africans have heard our call previously that as much as we have a legitimate right to protest, you shouldn't ban or damage our infrastructure in that process. Yeah. Most South Africans do not loot. Most South Africans do not ban property. Yeah. But we just have to plan for that event should it materialize.
So businesses who are sitting now thinking, what do we do with these premiums now? Because now Sasria says they are no longer going to cover me. Should I take them and take them elsewhere? What should they do?
The reality is that there is nowhere elsewhere to take it. All right? Because remember, the insurers, to use, I like your term, the insurers of insurers are global insurers. So we engaged, I was in London in March, engaging with them. I met with over 40 reinsurers. As things stand now, actually, only one in South Africa has said we are excluding. So of the 18-plus reinsurers that we have on our panel, only one has given us this exclusion. Others have indicated their desire to do so pretty soon. So we have to prepare. We have to prepare for that. So there is nowhere to go. What did the then apartheid government do in 1976 when South African companies had nowhere to go to cover terrorism? Government stepped up. And I think the current South African government will do the right thing at the right time. So that's why, in our wisdom, we have retracted that particular statement and have gone on to these various consultations.
Good to have you. Much appreciated. Thank you for coming in and bringing that clarity there for us. All right,
Thank you.
Sasria CEO there, joining us in the studio to explain the retraction of that particular circular. When we continue...